So I think we'll get started. JD, what do you think?
Yeah, I can see your slides ready to go.
Cool. Love it. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, the 22 plus people that are taking time out of your busy day to join JD and I on our conversation today. As you can see, today's topic of conversation is going to be the ultimate review and approval guide. And the two different panelists are from the MediaSilo side, which is myself, Sam Cook, which will do formal introductions on the next slide, but Jonathan Darby, aka JD, from the Tyrell side, which is one of our near and dear resellers within the United Kingdom. So very excited for today's conversation. We also have Shauna Leonardi joining us, who is our knight in shining armor. She's going to be, helping on the back end with answering questions, just making sure this all goes smooth. So let's jump to the actual introduction side of things.
This
So
has
like
gone
I
global.
said,
We've just had a hello from Cape Town, South Africa.
really? Wow, okay.
Yep.
So I guess what other continents are being represented? Feel free to shout out where
Yes,
people are
please.
located, because the more global reach we can get, the better. Because we know that the media and entertainment video industry is worldwide now. So love to hear from any and all of you. So, from a formal introduction standpoint, if we have not met, it is great to meet you. My name is Sam Cook, and I am the West Regional Sales Manager for EditShare. Little background on me: I've been working in the video workflow related sales or dedicated account management in and around the media and entertainment industry for the last 10 years. I am based on the West Coast in Los Angeles, California. So quite far, 6,000 miles from JD, but with the power of Zoom and the internet, it's like we're in the same room here. So a little bit about, EditShare. So EditShare has been a pioneer in the M&E industry, or working around video, for the last 20 plus years, starting in the United Kingdom, but at this point are now a global company with resources on all major continents. So, and supporting both traditional M&E and non-M&E verticals alike. So we started as a storage vendor, but have changed our messaging more to beyond storage. So what I mean by that is really just providing creatives added functionality in each step of the creative process. So you have high performance and shared storage, but aside from that, mainly around remote editorial, production asset management, and media asset management, and now review and approval and content presentation, which is what we'll be chatting more about today. So I'll hand it over to you, Jonathan, to give a formal intro.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, I'm Jonathan, pre-sales engineer here at Tyrell for just over a year. I also did a few years pre-sales with Jigsaw 24 along the same market verticals. Prior to that, I was a systems engineer at ITV in London, where I managed the post-production for ITV Creative and Sports. And prior to that, again, also head-end audio engineer at Evolutions Television here in London. And I'm based in London and have been for quite a long time and love
it. Which is awesome. So thank you, Jonathan. I think what would be good too is just give a little more background on Tyrell as a whole.
Of course. Tyrell is based in UK and Ireland, and we've been around a long time and are very well regarded. As you can see, we have a lot of M&E experience. We're a pretty agile crowd. We've got extensive collective experience of on-prem, cloud workflows, and a hybrid of both. In fact, our guys here have rolled out some amazing cloud products on AWS. You've got Tyrell Cloud Workstations and Tyrell Connect Stream. This gives those in fear of the cloud an amazingly simple way to deploy, use, and understand a cloud environment.
Which is awesome. And I think one thing I wanted to shout out too, Jonathan, is I believe you guys were reseller of the year in the European region for us last year. So
that's correct.
Wanted to shout out. Yeah, exactly. And we're thankful for all the service and just support that you guys have given us over the years, but especially last year earning that trophy. So thank you for that.
We love it.
And yeah, so and speaking of these, as you can see at the bottom of the slide, the end-to-end M&E workflows, to give you an idea, here are some of the customers that we both, are working with Tyrell. So as you can see, spans the gamut of both traditional M&E and non-M&E. So Jonathan, I don't know if there was anyone that you wanted to call out or give a little background on, but
yeah, I mean, we have the traditional post houses there. We've some different verticals in terms of in-flight for aviation, traditional post in screen scene, NHS, Matchroom Sport, but also Whisper, and then National Theatre, which I believe we're just adding to their EditShare environment currently. So shout out to Simon Walker for that.
Yeah, awesome. Shout out to Simon. And I believe so. I've heard rumblings of that. I know the legend on the chat earlier, Adam Lewiston, would probably have a good idea on that as well. But yeah, so as you can see, right, video has exploded, right? Not from your traditional media and entertainment, whether it's a post house, production company, studio, broadcaster. Video is being used for multiple different opportunities, right? So whether it's sales and marketing on like the corporate side of trying to kind of help brand storytell, right, and get people to buy in on that specific brand. Also for like training, right? So for like in-flight Dublin, that could be either for a movie catalog and making that content available to the actual passengers on a flight, or it could be training content for people with in-flight Dublin on learning, the different ins and outs on the different complexities that come with in-flight entertainment, right? So many different use cases, both in M&E and not.
Also, like independent content is really flourishing because you don't need a 5K camera anymore to make
true.
really good looking videos and post them to your social channels.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like, and one thing we've seen globally, but like especially in the US too, is this whole like new media explosion, right? So it's these either influencers on Instagram, TikTok, but also YouTube as well, and almost categorized under new media, right? Which is like that single camera operator or multiple different cameras, shooting more short form content, but looking pretty slick, right?
Yeah.
So it's not the traditional, it's also kind of how the industry is changing and supporting those changes as well. So good call there, JD.
Also, a bit of a mind bender was last week that well, it's out a few weeks, but FCP will now, you can do multicam via iPhone to your FCP
it's crazy.
timeline. It's nuts.
I mean,
absolutely nuts.
That is crazy. I mean, that's way above my head. But I just think, and this is something like, we saw at NAB too, and just some of these bigger conferences of like, the latest and greatest. But it seems like these different innovations and releases to the market are pretty crazy and going towards that, right? That single camera operator, new media. Oh, I just have a phone. Can I work the same as like a traditional production company or a broadcaster? Kind of at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yes.
So pretty crazy. So JD, what would be great is just giving a little background of, your reseller, you do a million things, but really just help frame this conversation today would be great.
Yeah, as you can see on the list there, we produce videos for valued vendors, EditShare, yourself, ClearCom, Iconic, Jetstream. Also product comparison videos. You can find those on our channels. But essentially, we produce a small amount of content to inform our customers and followers of, good workflows, new products, stuff they may not have heard of. Ultimately, though, we're a reseller. We're busy doing other things. And that's where, when we got introduced to MediaSilo, it became immediately beneficial to us. Before that, we were using MS SharePoint to continuously confuse ourselves internally of what version's up there now. I'd stick up another version and download another version. And it's like, I meant to make changes to version 5. Oh, I can't find it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a common pain point. And if you're in between like office locations or out in the field, forget it. SharePoint it's not happening for you. So every new version needed a full download, it was just crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's like super helpful to kind of just lay the land here a little bit, where today, what we want to, the journey we want to take is basically like before MediaSilo and after MediaSilo, right?
Yeah.
So to help break up the conversation, mainly talk about the three main pain points and also do some demonstrations associated with each pain point to how MediaSilo can help alleviate, go from pain point to, solution type deal, right? So
Yeah.
something that you just mentioned was, this first pain point, which is what we call like workflow confusion, right? And a customer quote that we've actually received in the past is, we're using Vimeo, Dropbox, Frame.io, Google Drive, Slack, and email, and we're still not on the same page. And plus, there is no audit trail, which makes it impossible to know who has viewed what, right?
Yeah.
So basically, like JD, you feel this, right? Kind of what you were just
Yeah.
talking about. It's
Well,
kind of the four tools, one job.
yeah, I mean, on the first instance there, the first quote is, the workflow kind of disappears and just becomes confusion.
Right.
Nothing more, nothing less. And, you know, customers do realize it shouldn't be this hard. We just haven't got around to simplifying our workflow. And that's where, MediaSilo came in. I suppose the real pain, as you say, is stacked applications. So you've got siloed things everywhere, and people are like, "Where's that asset? What's it on? What platform is it on?" Lack of
Exactly.
version control, and et cetera, et cetera. It just gets a mess.
Yep. Yep. It's the exactly. And this is like a pain point we see in all verticals, right? Big and
Yeah,
small. So
yeah,
you could be a 5-person production company, but you also could be ITV, right? In
yeah,
on-air
yeah,
promo or marketing, right? Like it's the pain of siloed applications that don't talk to each other. It's almost more of like a tool-based workflow versus like a system-based workflow, right? So, and a few of these things are, lack of version control. So knowing the latest version that you're working on, the comments associated, and who's seen it, but really just an audit trail, keeping track of all engagement associated with who's viewing what, who's making comments, what are the comments, where can we access those comments. And like when you bring in an external stakeholders, forget about it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Like that's not only like an internal review and approval issue, but we've seen with our customers some 60 plus people need to be involved within these review sessions, right? And if you don't have the right tool set and or just system based approach, it's going to be really difficult. And then with that just it takes longer and your output is lower. When I say it takes longer, I mean kind of like getting people's approvals, feedback, all that kind of stuff. It takes longer. Your output is lower, which maybe leads to lower revenue, which it's harder to survive, especially within these current kind of business climate and creative conditions, right?
I like to call it the
Um,
circle of hell of inefficiency.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
right. So, and it's not like pointing fingers or anyone's fault, right? Because, like you said, like a lot of people are very, very busy, right? And change is tough. It's tough to be like, here's a new concept, here's a new thing, and kind of flip the script on how people are working. But I think once you actually do implement a tool like MediaSilo and centralize kind of Media Hub and Review and Approval and Collaboration Hub, it can change people's trajectories and businesses.
Yeah, you won't know yourself after using it once. You'll know
Right,
immediately, like, this answers everything we need to do.
right, right. So with that being said, um, I just wanted to highlight on a quick demo within MediaSilo to help alleviate those things of siloed applications, but also maybe siloed feedback as well, and hit on a few components within MediaSilo. So Jonathan and everyone over at Tyrell was nice enough to invite me to their MediaSilo account, which this is the account that was used to collaborate and actually approve the videos that have been published to social and or shared with other customers as quick snackable educational videos on new vendors that they help support for like latest and greatest and many other things. But this is the first look within the MediaSilo application, which it is a cloud-based application. So I'm accessing this over the web, but we also have a dedicated desktop apps as well. So that's both for Mac and Windows. So the same functionality and responsive design exists on all experiences, right? So that's both in the web, desktop, but also on our mobile and tablet applications as well. So you can see here, I'm an admin on the account, so I can see all of the projects that have been created within the account. A project is essentially our nomenclature for a folder. So if you're working on a new video for a new vendor, you can create a new project. You can add users with varying levels of permission to that project, and then you can create a folder structure associated for that project for whatever works for you and your team. And something that I wanted to call out is, and something that I think JD did with the team is, instead of having to recreate your folder structure every time you create a new video or project, what you can do is you can actually go here and you can clone, which basically allows you to rinse and repeat not only the project structure and subfolders associated with that, but also the users and the same permissions come with it. So this is up to you and what you want to select, but it just saves time.
Saves a lot of time. It's great.
Instead of having to recreate that project structure every time. So once I go into this project here, right, you can see Jonathan is very, and JD is very, organized, and it's very easy to be able to navigate between the different folders, right? So if I want to open and close this project bin here on the side, I can always kind of open and close that, really up to users and their kind of preference from a UI standpoint. But if I want to click this caret, I can see the same folder structure here. I can search against that or filter against that stuff. But essentially, I want to get to where I'm going quicker, right? So let's say I want to go to final branded publish folder. I want to go to YouTube, and then I can see, this is the latest asset that was published to YouTube, right? So we're talking about, workflow confusion and trying to alleviate those things. I think one thing that MediaSilo offers that, is tough with other applications is it includes the collaboration feature set and is more video centric versus something like a SharePoint, a Google Drive, or Dropbox, right? So I have my player,
made for media,
right? And just more made for media and more forced function, right? So you have your player, you have added functionality around, auto advance, loop, speed up, slow down, and then keyboard shortcuts, right? If you want. So if I want to show if you have an editorial background and are used to using a keyboard, that's totally cool. But if I want to go to review mode here, right, I can see that this is a versioned asset. So I not only see the comments from our latest asset, who made the comment at what time code, and if I click that, it'll bring me directly to that point in the video. And that can be either a timestamp or an individual frame, which I can always click between here. There's other things like annotation, right? So if I want to make a comment and then annotate associated with that comment, so I can actually call out an area of the video of what that feedback is associated with. It just helps the creatives and non-creatives be able to work more cohesively instead of like having just text-based comments, right? So I think another thing too that I wanted to bring up in more of that made for media-centric workflow is being able to do side-by-side versioning too, right? So if this is a versioned asset, I can see V1 here and the latest version, which is V2 here. But at any point, I can not only search and filter comments, but also show comments, right? So if I want to see comments from V1, I can do that. And then from there, be able to see like, okay, was this feedback that Shauna and Jonathan provided, was that actually acted upon within this V2 or latest version that we're working on, right? So, and that could be used for, simple kind of review and approval, but also things like color correction, SMP, there's many different use cases there where that side-by-side review comes in handy. And then what's nice too is having that audit trail, right? So if I want to go into our Insights tab, this Insights tab is basically a analytical dashboard, right? That shows me all of my latest viewers, what assets are being viewed, right? And it's actually showing me, if I click in here, okay, who's viewing what? I can see this asset was shared with Sam, Jonathan, and Shauna. If I go into Jonathan, I can see, okay, he opened this a day ago. He commented approved, but he also viewed 78% and 35% of the different clips, right? So if I then want to go directly to that asset, it stops that guessing game and just creates more of that cohesive 360 workflow of here's an asset, I upload it, I share it with the right people, people provide feedback, and I have an audit trail of who's engaging to help push along that approvals process. So enough of me talking. Let's go back to the slide here, which I think this brings us to the second pain point, right, JD? Which this is another quote that I think either yourself or I know other customers have said it too. Is we have assets everywhere, right? I spend more time trying to find the right files than I do actually editing the video. Which, when I hear that, makes my skin crawl because creatives are hired to do creative work.
Exactly.
And not manual
not
tasks.
admin.
Right. So when you take people away from that, it creates frustration, but it basically, you're paying them to do work they're not being paid to do. If that makes sense. Right.
Yeah. And I've seen this before where, people are having to rely on others in the organization physically to find them. Where's that file? Or play a guessing game, that takes away, as you say, from the creative process. Bob, where's that file? And nobody can find Bob. It's 5:30 on a Friday. Bob's left the building. And then you go and delve into SharePoint for half an hour. No, it's not here. Could be on Google Drive. Let me check. Back and forth, back and forth. Meanwhile, you want to be creating and delivering. And I think, for us, it's a relatively small team in what we do. But MediaSilo has just made such a difference. And during using this, I think of bigger facilities, what do people do with 10 plus teams, 20 plus teams, 60 plus teams? How do they keep track of anything? So, before using MediaSilo, we'd publish up to SharePoint or OneDrive, and we wouldn't take many versions now, probably 3, to result in confusion and crosstalk because there's multiples of media every single time you create a new version.
Right.
And that's within the organization. Forget adding external users on SharePoint. That's just a whole new layer of pain. So it solves so many things for us.
Yeah, no, totally. And I think going back to the siloed applications, excuse me, and the workflow confusion is you're also, when you can't preview media and keep either a high res or a proxy based workflow online, and you have to download, you're creating media redundancies too, right? So if that media is not named properly or there's not the right naming convention, it can get really confusing with having local media and then online media, and are they associated with one another? What's the latest version? So from a workflow confusion and then an asset management standpoint, it's just tough. It's just that guessing game keeps coming up. Which is never fun.
The very act of the download is essentially creating another version. You might change the name of it, but it's a different iteration of that media living somewhere else.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and not being able to preview, right, in this day and age. And I know that there are a lot of applications that you can preview, but when you are working with an application that's generic cloud storage and you can't play back an asset, I mean, that's a problem. Right. Especially from a external stakeholder client standpoint. Right. So let's say I'm an agency, we're doing branded content, we're shooting a commercial and it's a V1 and I want to share that with an executive at a big brand within the UK. They're probably on their phone, right?
Yeah.
Or their tablet, or want to see it on the big screen on their TV, right? How do I do that with the current workflow or application we're using? You
more
can't,
admin,
right?
You need more
it's
admin.
it's more admin, and then from there, it also just creates friction between you and the client too. When you share something, they have to then download that, and it either maybe fails and or takes a long time, and then other people ping them, and then they kind of get distracted, and it pushes out these feedback cycles and approval cycles, right? So being able to have a place to go to, either in a folder or a project, or a kind of review link or asset that can be viewed, either on the fly on any different device, without having to download or be ready at the computer, like that's another advantage too.
Huge advantage. And also with the external users is it's amazingly via MediaSilo. It's so easy to add them. And on their end, I was actually surprised at how easy it was for them to navigate back to the footage, have a look and add their comments. And they don't have to create a MediaSilo account or anything like that. They're pretty much straight in. It's no hassle for them. And I've seen also non-creative users in external organizations, i.e. the law department, look at stuff, and it was a no-brainer for them as well. So that's pretty exceptional.
Yeah, totally. And I think that that's a big fear, right? Of especially with change of like our clients or our external stakeholders, are they going to be able to use it, or is there going to be pushback? I mean, we can't guarantee anything or any answer. We've seen it all. I know I have seen it all. Working with high profile celebrities on not even being able to open a link, but that's neither here nor there. But I think from a day-to-day user and usability, we've always had that baked in, and really just trying to resemble everyday applications like, say, Google Drive or SharePoint, but just have it more kind of more supercharged, right? And more video and media centric. So, and I think one thing that actually leads into a good segue, Jonathan, is the demo on like adding users, but also asset management as well. So, for example, if I want to go back into MediaSilo here, I have an admin panel, which once I click this administration panel, it drops me into the users tab. So from here, I can add, edit, and remove user access at any time. So if I wanted to add a new user, whether that's a client or another team member or another department, I can add their email, give them a specific user type, and then they have a role, which is a default role on either one projects, multiple projects, or all projects, right? So you can scale, right? So you can start small. It's not like you have to start with 100 users. You can start with 5 users and then being able to add as you go and as new projects and people are brought on to the team, right?
I mean, we started with 2, and then that just grew quickly.
Exactly. So you're a real life example of that happening, right? So 2 to 12 within a month span. So, and another thing too, I wanted to call out is like, hey, is this integrated with like our Active Directory or some sort of SSO implementation? Yes. So that is something that we do offer. So if you have like, say, Jump Cloud or Okta or some sort of IT or tech ops, Active Directory application or setup, you can just add MediaSilo as another application, which goes back to the usability standpoint, but also security and balancing that, right? Like, oh, is it just another login that I'll have to remember? No, it's just a push of a button where you push the button, it sees who you are as the user, it authenticates you, and pushes you into the application. And you see the projects that you've been invited to, right? So, going back to like an asset management standpoint, another real life example I know that you brought up in previous conversations with us is like either Dan or Brian or someone else at Tyrell is like, hey, can you show me everything that we've published to YouTube? If you're in siloed applications and you don't know where to look, that can be tough, right? It's back to that guessing game of like, okay, where is those YouTube clips that we published and the searchability is maybe not there? I can just go to our global search bar here and I can start either typing in and do a real-time faceted or filtered search, or just start doing like a Boolean stack search on a bunch of different criteria. But essentially, like if I want to find, all of my YouTube content, I can go to an existing tag here and go, okay, show me all of the YouTube content that we've published with this tag, hit search, and it's going to show me all of the assets that we have, published to YouTube, right? So from here, this can then, depending on my permission set and what we want to do with this asset, like let's say Dan wants to actually review this asset to maybe present it to other people at Tyrell or other people to help kind of push on LinkedIn to drive engagement for an upcoming show or event or whatever. I can share this, right, as a review link and or presentation. I can download the high-res or proxy. There's many different kind of workflows or a plethora of things that you can do with this media once you've actually found it, right?
Yep.
So back to searchability, usability, and just allowing creatives to get to where they're going a lot quicker. So straight line instead of a squiggly line, if that makes sense.
Totally. A single point of reference. That's
that's it. That's it.
Really, the story for MediaSilo for us was how simple it is to use. As I said before, we're a technical reseller, so video output is by 1 or 2 man band. MediaSilo's made it so easy to look at assets from a single point of reference and invite those external collaborators, that it's made it indispensable to us. And I mean, we're not giving this back. Sorry, I've lost the receipt, Sam. It's gone.
Which, like I said, I mean, no returns on this. All good.
Yeah,
that's you keep it. I'll turn a blind eye.
Good man.
And shout out to you and Tyrell for pushing the MediaSilo agenda and this workflow capability, right, to your existing customer base, but also future customer base. And also, as I was drinking this, I was laughing. I'm like, is this the most American-sized coffee ever? I'm just drinking this, not really realizing it's the largest of large. But so pain point 3, right, is the lack of reliability. So what do I mean by that? To help paint a picture here, another customer quote or something that we've seen in the industry is, why does our system always seem to crash at 5 p.m. when I'm uploading a terabyte of media into our system? There's certain tools and applications, that do a really good job of handling video, right? Where as video have gotten, when I say video, like resolutions, codecs, specs, as they've gotten bigger, larger, more complex, a lot of these review tools that are being used are inconsistent and can really run into reliability issues, where you start uploading something. Like I had a conversation the other day with someone within the gaming space, right? They're creating a lot of player content, and all they wanted to do was be able to upload, to SharePoint for global partners to start viewing. And they would upload and it just would fail, upload, fail, upload, fail. And then 3 hours later, you still haven't uploaded a clip to show with other either global partners or people outside of the organization, right? Which it just creates further frustration and things like that. So just
that
wanted to speak to that
always
point
happen
too.
at 5:30 on a Friday.
Yeah, and it's just it's always the worst time, right? It's never like Tuesday at 1. It's always like I have to pick my kid up at soccer, or I have to go to a recital, or I have a dinner, or I have like a happy hour to go to, right? Like, and you're sweating to kind of get these this content uploaded and share with the right people, and if you don't have the right tools or systems, that can be tough. So I don't know if there was anything that you wanted to add. I know I've been doing a lot of talking.
That's okay. You introduced us to MediaSilo last year. And the first project we decided to run on it, ironically, was the MediaSilo compare against Frame.io. My first time running it, I was like, this is brilliant. And this is really the only way we want to run projects from now on. The review and approve, ease of use compared to SharePoint, just made it indispensable immediately.
Yeah, it's and I think it's just being able, you just feel more comfortable on your daily operation, right?
Yeah,
like that you can you rely on specific tools or workflows to just work, right? Like we just want it to work. I've heard that in the last kind of 9-10 years I've been doing this. We just want it to work.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of people will come back.
We want it to work and not be high maintenance. Those are the key things.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But also, something to call out is like, we're not perfect. Like software, there are some things that do happen, but also, are you there to support users when things do go bad, right? So that's another like a creed that we believe in too, is like customer first and partner first, right? So like if something does happen from a workflow confusion, or something happen related to the product or workflow, like we want to be there to help, right? And kind of like lend a helping hand, whether it's a consultative workflow point, or just helping teams get a job done that maybe they're struggling with. So I think the three workflow pain points, right, that MediaSilo has helped solve is the workflow confusion, right, and just added a more cohesiveness between your team and viewing and providing feedback and speeding up those approval processes. Two, from an asset management standpoint and user management standpoint, so being able to create projects, add users, have the right visibility on the right projects, and then be able to get to where you're going a lot quicker. So straight line versus squiggly line, and then the lack of reliability, right? So just providing a more consistent, not only preview, but also just review and approval and asset management experience for your team and others.
I think also as a good point of it is, as well as an end user, when you've been assigned your login to whatever project, every time you come back to the Shift app.shift.io app, you log in and you're back on where you left it. Really nice feature.
Yep. Totally. So, and I did want to call out, I know, Nick, you had a question. Thanks for the question. Can I bring my own S3 storage media silos? I have lots of content already stored on an S3 provider. Thank you, Shauna, for chiming in on that. So just to speak to that is we do support it, but it has to be a fresh S3 bucket that integrates directly with the MediaSilo account, and then you can push assets from another S3 bucket to that bucket. But it has to be a clean account. So would be happy to schedule, an additional call to talk through that workflow if that's of use to you, your team, and or other customers. So I know I kind of just gave a quick wrap up of the different pain points and solutions, but JD, if you could bring us home here, we're just going to do a one by one bullet reveal. So the first is simple to deploy and easy to use.
If I can use it, anyone can use it. It's just that easy.
Yeah.
And I haven't broken it yet. I've had it for a while, and so it's pretty resilient and it's easy to use.
Yeah. Yeah. So and that's, users crave simplicity, right?
Yeah.
So
especially this day and age.
So I think from like a media asset management, production asset management, those are a lot heavy dutier systems, right? So if we're talking about the traditional EditShare, high performance storage, either on-prem, hybrid, or in the cloud, there's a lot of different things that go into that, which MediaSilo can either sit on top of or integrate directly with Flow, right? So if I am a customer that is using Flow as my media asset management system now, you can push assets from Flow to MediaSilo, and MediaSilo is super, super easy to open up, like or open an account. All we really need is just what we call workspace details, which is essentially what you want to name the account, the initial admin name, first name and last name, and then email. And then from my end, it's really just working with our sales ops team to just create an account, and you're sent login credentials same day. So, if this is something that you want to test and or move forward with, like, we can get you up and running, and like time to market's really quick. So can start small and scale indefinitely.
We're the showcase of that. I mean, 1 or 2 man band, but that's going to grow with more and more content that we produce, and it's it's got no ceiling in terms of where it can go.
Yeah, right. So like perfect example is you went from 2 to 12, right, in a few months. So as you were doing more videos, more people either from that vendor and or from Tyrell internally, need to start viewing and accessing and providing feedback to these videos before it's published, right? So
And
it's
remember, it doesn't have
essentially,
to be just
yeah,
video. Sorry to interrupt, Sam. It doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
to be
no, totally.
only video assets. It could be pretty much anything you could think of. So I was uploading scripts there for external
Yeah,
users to have a look at, new music
which I think
beds,
is, yeah, I think it's helpful to speak to
you
that too,
know.
right? So like scripts were also uploaded, right? So I can see, that if I want to view the V3, which is the latest script, we can preview both not only imagery, but also documents as well, right?
Yeah, it's great.
So
Yeah,
if I wanted to go to review mode and collaborate here, there's a bunch of functionality, both from an annotation, shapes, but also just generic commenting and collaboration that I can do on non-video as well. So I think that's a great point, and something that people bring up. It's like, yeah, okay, no, totally. Like this is meant for video, but can we use it for non-video too? Because
totally.
video is not only just video, right?
Yeah,
Like you said, there's music or sound or images, documents, whether
B-roll,
anything from
tons of it. Yeah,
exactly, whether it's
you name it.
pre-production to delivery, right? There's many different components that are involved. So MediaSilo can be that hub for video and non-video there. Wow, it's almost like I prepped this from conception to delivery, pre-production to delivery. But yeah, so single solution from conception to delivery, right? So talking to that centralized spot for, if we're pitching a project or something that hasn't even been greenlit yet, MediaSilo is functionality for those different phases in the creative process, and not only MediaSilo but also EditShare as a whole.
Yeah,
So
yeah, you could run storyboards up there and everything as well. No problem.
yep, yeah, yep, which I think is valuable, right? Because
Very much
another
so.
thing is like what another like thing that we see is people go, well, we only have this one small team, that's using it for this one use case, but a platform becomes a lot more valuable when multiple teams and use cases are being ran through it, right?
Yeah,
So like, and that's something we do a lot with our like customer success and just dedicated account management team is like, okay, you have this team using it, but like, are there other teams that could get value out of this? And sometimes it's really just letting customers kind of think through it and go, yeah, actually, I think we may have other teams that, could get value from this different workflows, whether it's storyboarding, whether it's, casting, costume makeup, dailies, rushes, work in progress, cut review, media management, content presentation, all that stuff. Location
you can be
agnostic for
anywhere in the
site
world.
users. That's, and I think
As you
that's
saw on our map
another,
earlier, London, Boston, and Texas.
yeah, yeah,
We'll just work
exactly.
away and squirrel away and collaborate on assets. It's great.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a huge benefit, right, of cloud-based technologies
Big time, yeah.
is, if you have internet connection, which hopefully a lot of us do at this point, you can access it either locally on a desktop app or just, secure HTTPS like web URL, right? Um, so it's goes back to the simple to deploy and easy to use. You can create the account quick, you can onboard users quick, and then you can access it, right, for multiple different experiences or locations.
Quick.
And then I think lastly is workflow changes with you, right? So, and I think this is a big point where it's, this is a collaboration between ourselves, partners, and customers. Like when you do implement a change of a new system or it's something like MediaSilo, it's different, right? And change inevitably is can be tough. So this is something that we want to be solid partners here and work with you on understanding. Okay, this is how you're working, but like, are there ways that we can maybe tinker or tweak these workflows just to make it more effective for you, your team, your business, etc.
Yeah.
So JD,
Totally
I don't
dynamic. And
know if you wanted to
workflows
add to
will
that.
change and
Yeah.
be dynamic.
Yeah.
Workflows will always change and be dynamic. So it can be, I think to phrase it, MediaSilo can be whatever you want it to be in terms of a review and approve tool. You can pretty much use it any way you feel you need to.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it's given us a huge amount of organizational time back. Like I said before, we're a reseller, and it's given us all the functionality we dreamt of in one source, which has been really brilliant. And it's been really easy to deploy and use. Everything feels familiar. And I said this to you the other day. I think it was really weird. The first time I used it, I was like, I feel like I've used this before, which is great. It feels that familiar. It's like, I'm sure I've used this before, but I hadn't. But it's that apparent and obvious of how it works.
Right. The familiarity is nice.
Yeah.
We're trying to mimic, right, that those everyday applications like, say, a SharePoint and Google Drive, because I think that's why people use those solutions is, you know, the barrier of entry is low, and it's they're just easy to navigate, right? It's, you have a folder and you upload it, and then you can kind of link to that folder. But as the team grows and the projects grows, you grow out of that. But we're trying to keep that consistency, but just more of like a powerful back end and more media centric functionality, right? And I think another thing too is like, people go, well, we're using all this other technology too. Like, we don't want to get rid of this technology, right? Like, is there a way to integrate it? Like, we have a full open RESTful API too. You know, that not only that, but we also can support specific webhooks too, right? So whether you're working with like project management tools, or, you know, you're working with third party, or you're working with NLEs and need like a third party panel, like we have direct panels with Premiere Pro and other creative cloud applications, but also Resolve too, right? Seeing a huge shift to more people using Resolve for things like finishing, but just editing in general, right? So you can access all of your project content within that application to keep it even further streamlined, right? So you can have a side application open with MediaSilo, but you can access and import the content directly in your timeline, and to be able to see assets and comments, you know, associated with those specific assets that are currently in review or work in progress.
Yeah, I mean, all the clips we produce now just go straight to MediaSilo. I don't even bother with anything else anymore. It goes straight up, and it's our single source for edits, scripts, and final branded content that everybody can keep track of really easily.
Love it.
And also, we've mentioned before, but it does save the external users a huge amount of time. You simply invite an external user to the clip or the project. You want them to review and approve. External user just adds in, and away they go.
Yeah. No, and I think the easier, and we've seen this, you know, I think the easier it is to work with specific customers and or clients, the more willing they're going to stay with you, right?
Yeah.
So that could be, you know, whether it's a sponsor for a broadcaster, or it could be a brand with a specific agency, you know, whether it's a, you know, studio with a production company. I mean, the tighter you have the workflows and the easier it is to work with you, I think the more effective you're going to be and be able to scale that business, essentially.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, because those guys, the easier you make their lives, the more efficient you make their lives, they'll be happier with you, big time. And also don't forget, there's the Apple TV app, which is also, would you believe, really straightforward to download from the App Store, install it on your Apple TV, log in, and away you go. Amazing.
Yeah. No, amen. So I think that wraps up where we're going to take some questions, which my ADHD has been on fire. So I can only, like, my multitasking ability is not as good. But okay, so we have a few questions in here. Can you use MediaSilo independent of EditShare? Yes, you can. I did talk about, exactly. I did talk about if you do use other existing EditShare components like our EFS and Flow, you can have MediaSilo sit on top of that, where you can push from Flow to MediaSilo and be the more external review and approval layer. But yes, I mean, you can use MediaSilo independent of EditShare. So if you're not a current EditShare customer, but want to kind of supercharge that review and approval workflow, we can stand up a MediaSilo account, no problem. Talk about cost, which brings me to the next question, which is what's the entry point for MediaSilo users, costs, etc. So the way that we sell MediaSilo is based on users and storage. So users are people who have individual logins to the back end, which is a specific amount and can grow and scale. But you also can share assets outside of the system to what we call reviewers, which is unlimited. But back end users, we start at 5, and it's a price per user per month model, right? So it's $38 per user per month, and our entry level is 5 users. And with that, you get a terabyte of storage, but you can scale, up. So if you want more storage but lower users, cool. If you want more users but maybe less storage, like we can be flexible there. So that entry level price point is right around 2,280 for the year, because we ask for an annual commitment for that 5 users and terabyte. So how does MediaSilo integrate with EditShare? So I talked a little bit more about that, where right now it is a push workflow. So you can push assets from Flow, the media asset management system, under the EditShare banner into MediaSilo, and that can be set up via Flow automation. So this is something that myself and or local either partners and or pre-sales and sales reps can help facilitate, right, to set up that either watch folder capability or like a if this then that. So if assets go to a specific folder or media space, you can then push that to MediaSilo, and that can be more of like your handshake between internal and external collaboration. And yeah, I think and another question is there any benefit of using Flow and MediaSilo together? And I think there is. I mean, the benefit being, you don't want to give everyone keys to the kingdom of your MAM, right? And specifically clients. So, for example, giving and to be and I'm sure they wouldn't even want to log in, right? And or just add another application, to their day-to-day, right? So if you were like, hey, client A, can you log in to view this cut, within our MAM, they'd be like, can you just like send me a link? So what MediaSilo allows you to do is you can create that external linking workflow with people outside of the organization that don't need to be on a VPN or on a specific network, right? So, but it also keeps that not only the usability and workflow, but also has the added security benefit too, right? So up to the sender of the asset, when you push from Flow to MediaSilo, you can create added security around like adding password. You can require a login, but we also support added security functionality like on-demand visible and forensic watermarking, right? So if you're working on very, very sensitive content, whether it is a Super Bowl commercial or a pre-release feature and or episodic content, like we can watermark that content. And that content is encrypted from start to finish, and people won't be able to either download anything and or be able to maliciously access that content without the right parameters. So I think the main benefit is the ease of use, but security is kept along the way between yourselves and third-party reviewers.
Suppose a phrase maybe there you could use is, MediaSilo is going to be just as at home at on-prem or a cloud first kind of use case. So it fits really well within either, depending on how you want to use it, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's it for the Q&A.
You've answered all the questions.
I answered all the questions, and we're almost at time, so we timed this pretty well. So I think next step is like, if you do want to learn more and or engage with us further, you can find EditShare, where you can reach out to us at that email of sales@editshare.com. Also, follow us on social. Click like, subscribe. Living in LA, I'm really getting the lingo down. And then we'll also be at IBC, which is a big show for us in Amsterdam, September 13th to 16th. So if you're going to be there, we would love to see you in person, either do further demos or just discuss in more detail. And then, Jonathan, if you want to call out where you can find Tyrell.
Same again. You'll find us online, but you can also find us on Union Street, which is a quick walk from Waterloo Station. And secret, it's got the best Thai food in town, bar none. Around our building, I should know. And get in contact with us anytime for a one-to-one demo if you like. We're happy to do that. You'll find everything we've spoken about in the video deliveries on our websites as well.
Awesome. Well, JD, I think that caps it. I mean, I just had a bunch of fun. Hopefully you had some fun, and hopefully people who joined us, this was insightful and learned a little bit more about who we are and how we can help, the different industries of creative.
I think it's both sets of individuals and organizations. We're here to make your media life simple.
That's it. Take away the headache, alleviate the headache. So thank you so much for everyone who joined us today. Like I said, reach out if you want to learn more. Would love to meet more of you, and have a great rest of your week, and look forward to chatting with you guys soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Shauna.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Shady. Thanks, Shauna. Talk soon.